I got into glass because I went to an exhibition when I was doing my art foundation and I didn't like anything I saw. And so I went and did a degree in glass. And then when I finished when I was 21, I set myself up in business. And that was a few years ago now. The whole process starts with the client contacting me. The private commissions, it tends to be more personal, so we come up with a list of the things that they'd like incorporated and the feel of the piece. And then anything that's obviously sent by email, I can use those pictures, and then I import everything into the iPad, and that can take anything between 20 minutes and 18 months, depending on whether it's a private commission or a charity or society. So when we've got to a design that's going to be right and the composition feels balanced and what have you, that will get signed off by the client, and then it's the making process.
For me, it's very much about Mum. It commemorates to me very many happy times that we've had in Worthing, going on the pier and just, being on the beach and just being by the seaside and enjoying, the salty air.
And I wanted to have flowers, so we had the red tulips because they're love. And we wanted forget-me-nots, which are Pamela's birthday flower, and lily of the valley, which are mine.
I think it's going to be very much a focal point on the pier to actually remember Mum as well as other members of the family.
Everything's got to be to scale, so I'll never cut a piece of glass until I know what size it's going to be and where it's going to go. So it's lots of hand cutting and arranging, so basically getting the layers of colour right, and where I have the same colour over the same colour, I'll get an intensity and depth of that colour, and adding all of the details. So a daffodil is never going to be a spitting image of a daffodil, but if I get the right lines, so it's all about getting the right lines and the right flow where the pieces are, and it's a question of building up and building up. So it's a watercolour, but you're building up with glass all the time and getting all of those layers so that you get the right depth and the right flow and the right dimension on it.
My late husband had a very good tenor voice, so we wanted music there. It was just to be a happy picture. So that was how that music came in, just the musical notes. The gentleman I worked for, his wife bought a Cavalier King Charles and brought it into the office. And I just fell in love with it. It was such a pretty little dog. And so that was how the Cavaliers came into our lives. And Becky was a very loving dog. And I had lost my husband before I got her. I've never been able to have one since.
So if I'm doing small detail, I tend to use copper wire because that works really well for smaller detail. And without the definition of stringers, it can look like a load of boiled sweets that have melted on the car dashboard or something, and as soon as you put that definition in, and it makes it pop. So frits I will use, again, it's for creating that illusion of trees or bushes or what have you. They are the equivalent of your hundreds and thousands on a cake. So it's that fine, fine detail that gives it the illusion of whatever it's supposed to be.
It was just a memory, really. I didn't want it as if he'd never existed, because he did a lot of good in his life. He'd always been in social work, and he enjoyed helping people. He worked for a hostel. He was in charge of, the probation side of the hostel. So he related very well with people.
The next stage is that all goes into the kiln, and it might be 3 or 4 layers deep of glass and stringers and look quite incredible, I should say, from the side. And then all of that goes into the kiln, fuses down to become one piece of glass. So what goes in might be, and it's not unusual for up to 500 pieces of glass to be on those pieces, and that all becomes one. It's in the kiln for about 3 days, so it goes in and then it'll obviously come up in temperature. It needs to anneal, which takes out any stress, and then it cools down. And then you open the kiln when it's at room temperature, and bingo, you hope that it's all in one piece and looking fabulous. And there's one piece of glass.
I'd always liked glass, but I didn't know sort of the history of it. But I'd always had a collection of little figures of glass,
Generally on the day that it comes out the kiln, I'll take a photo of it, send it to the client for approval, let them know that it's ready to see, because obviously I want everybody to see them before they're installed on the pier. So the client come and see them, touch them, hopefully think it's wonderful, and then it's ready for the next installation date.
Siobhan, isn't that wonderful?
You've done a stunning job on it.
Absolutely.
That is just
what we were looking for. And look what's here.
Yeah, beautiful.
Yes, it's lovely. More than we could ever have anticipated. Beautiful.
We have installation days about every 3 or 4 months, and there needs to be enough windows to install, so we aim for at least 10. It's a very nerve-wracking day. There'll be the carpenter, myself, Paul Holden, and other council members that are there on the pier, and we've obviously worked out where they're going to go and in which section, and they get installed with the individual plaques for each one. And that's it, really. And then there's the unveiling, so lots of the societies and individuals, they'll go and have a official unveiling. So the Merchant Navy, they got all sorts of members from their different regiments, is it? I'm not quite sure. And it was amazing. There was trumpeters and the band and what have you. So they had a really, really quite impressive opening. And that was about 18 months later, I think. And that's it. We're done. Ready for the next lot. We start again.